The reason why I say my life is not very good is because I have lost the two most important men in my life. One is the father who gave me life, and the other is the man I love the most. Whenever I am alone. When I was 9 years old, my father passed away due to illness, leaving behind my mother and 3 children. As the eldest daughter of my family, I dropped out of school and took the initiative to take on household chores after not studying for a few years. I helped my mother keep an eye on my younger siblings until I met my husband and married the Oldwu family at the age of 18. Although our family's conditions are not good, my mother loves me very much, and still entrusted relatives to find me a man with good character and practical ability. After getting married, I have a very happy life. My husband is hardworking and capable, with good earning ability. The financial conditions at home are quite good, and my mother-in-law is kind and treats me well. My uncle, who is 5 years younger than my husband, in my 3rd year of marriage, I gave birth to a son. My husband was very happy and decided to go out and work to earn more money. It's not easy to raise a son, not only to provide him with education, but also to prepare money for his wife. I want my son to settle down in the city in the future. My husband has been working outside for 10 years, and all the money except for basic expenses has been sent back home. With this money, we built a building in our hometown. Just as our family's days were getting better, God cruelly played a joke on me. He had an accident and encountered a drunk driving car at a crossroads before my son and I arrived. When his colleague called to report my funeral, I was working in the field and it was my uncle who came to call me. When my uncle cried and told me this cruel fact, I felt thunderous and collapsed to the ground. When I saw him, my husband's body had already become cold. I threw myself on him, shook him with all my might, cried and shouted to wake him up to see me and my son. Due to the poor family conditions of the driver who caused the accident, that period was really difficult. Not only did I have to get out of the pain of losing my husband, but I also had to help my son get out, without the full help of my mother-in-law and uncle. Fortunately, until now, I still remember the time when my uncle and son fought over us mother and son. There are some gossipy women in my hometown who don't practice oral morality, and behind my back, there are many discussions. After the little uncle found out, he rudely knocked on the door and cursed them all day. Since then, sister-in-law, don't worry. You are the woman my brother is marrying home through matchmaking, a member of my Oldwu family, and my nephew is my brother's only blood. My brother is no longer here, and there is me, with the full support of my mother-in-law. I took care of my son's TOEFL and went out to work during our most difficult time. 7 years ago, my son got married. At that time, my in-laws not only requested a dowry of 100,000 yuan, but also requested to buy a house. They demanded 300,000 yuan from time to time. While I was having a headache, my little uncle handed me a passbook that had been saved for 100,000 yuan and said, "Sister-in-law, as far as I know, this money is the inheritance saved by my mother-in-law through frugality. It is reasonable for both families to have a share. And my younger uncle also has a son who is not financially wealthy. Therefore, I want to share half of them." But my younger uncle refused to say, "Sister-in-law, Wu Jiong's marriage is a big deal. Just to solve this big thing, I had to accept this money and tell my son, your father is no longer here. Uncle is your closest elder. No matter what happens to uncle in the future, my son has also achieved this. showing great filial piety to his younger uncle and his wife. 4 years ago, my uncle's son also got married and needed to buy a house for the dowry. I didn't hesitate to pay them 50,000 yuan. In fact, I never thought of asking them to repay it. But if I gave it, at that time, my uncle took the money and insisted on giving me an IOU. Under his insistence, I reluctantly accepted it. After leaving the door, I tore up the IOU and threw it into the trash can. Unexpectedly, the character of the young uncle and his wife reached this level of nobility. After 4 years, they came to pay back the money as scheduled. And what I really couldn't accept was that they not only brought 50,000 yuan, but also an additional 10,000 yuan. Brother, how can you make my sister-in-law feel so embarrassed? You have helped our family so much, and the total amount you have given is more than 50,000 yuan. My son also chimed in. Yes, uncle. The reason why my mother said she borrowed it was because she was afraid you wouldn't want it. This money is for you. You don't need to pay it back. But the little uncle refused to agree and stuffed the money into my son's arms, saying, "What are you talking about? Your father is my brother." And he left. Is it reasonable for me not to take care of his wife and son? As an uncle, just as we were arguing, our daughter-in-law took the money and said, "Wu Yun, since my uncle gave it, you can take it." Seeing my daughter-in-law's behavior, I feel very unhappy. I think she is too naive and open-minded. But before I can speak, the daughter-in-law asks, "Uncle, my uncle is happy to tell us." Yes. We readily agreed. After my uncle left, my daughter-in-law immediately put the money into my son's hand and said, "Hurry up and go to the gold shop to choose jewelry for the children." After listening to my daughter-in-law's words, my son and I suddenly realized, and couldn't help but give a thumbs up, feeling that this idea was very suitable. In the end, on May the 18th, when we delivered our birthday gift, our little uncle was shocked and refused to ask for it. However, when our daughter-in-law said, "Uncle, don't you like it?" the two families gathered together and ate happily, and the banquet was filled with laughter and laughter. Afterwards, I instructed my son and daughter-in-law to maintain a good relationship with the younger uncle's family. Such relatives are worth cherishing for a lifetime.